Hi everyone and welcome. This will be the first video out of a total of 2 where I talk about all the books that I want to give a try in 2021. So this video will be about the series that I want to start this year, and then the other video that will probably be uploaded somewhere later this week will talk about all of the standalones that I want to give a try in 2021. After that video has been uploaded, I think that I'll be done with my content about out with the old, in with the new. So then I will have a little bit more time to review series, which is something that I think I will like most because I love the conversation with you guys or with other readers about a book that we've both read. We've both read the same sentences, but we have a completely different opinion about it. I always find that very interesting. And I would also like to give you information about a series if you haven't tried it yet, whether or not it would be something that would interest you and that you would like. So I am saying this because if you want to look at my 2020 content, so I will link that down below, being all the books that I read in 2020, but also a list of 10 of my favorite books of 2020. And you have a book on there that you're interested in and that you would like to know more about, so a review for instance, then please let me know in the comments down below, because then I can prioritize the reviews of those books over some other ones that I might have in mind. In the same vein, if you see a book or a series on this list and on the list of the standalones for 2021 that interests you, please let me know, because then I can start reading those books instead of some other ones and give you a review or a vlog, whatever you would like, very soon, hopefully. But without further ado, let's just start with the 15 series that I want to start in 2021. The first 3 series are actually all trilogies that I won't go into too deeply because I've already talked about those in my winter TBR that I will link down below. And those are The First Law by Joe Abercrombie, the first book being The Blade itself, the second one being Before They Are Hanged, and the third one being The Last Argument of Kings. So as you can see, I already have the complete trilogy. It's Joe Abercrombie, it's grimdark. I love grimdark and I haven't tried Joe Abercrombie yet, so it's time. Then the second series is the Echoes of the Fall trilogy by Adrian Tchaikovsky. The first one being The Tiger and the Wolf, the second one being The Bear and the Serpent, and the third one being The Hyena and the Hawk. And then the third trilogy that was on my winter TBR was the Golden Wolf Saga by Linnea Hartsucker. The first book being The Drowned King, the second one is titled The Sea Queen, and then the finale is The Golden Wolf. I've actually already started The Half Drowned King. I started January 1st. I am going to finish today, January 6th, and I have some issues with it, but I will discuss that a little bit further in my wrap-up of January. Then the next series that I'm going to talk about is actually one that I haven't mentioned yet on this channel, so I will go a little bit more in depth about the plot, and that is the Poison War novels by Sam Hawke. I believe that this is supposed to be a duology and both books are out yet, the first one being City of Lies and the second one Hollow Empire. I actually have Hollow Empire yet. I don't have City of Lies yet because it's still lost in the mail somewhere, so I hope to have that soon. This book follows a boy, or a young man, and most people at court think that he is just the friend of the counselor's eldest son and heir, but in secret he actually has the secret task of protecting the counselor's family against treachery by detecting poisons. And this is something that he has been trained to do since he was a young boy, because this has been the secret task of his family for generations, so he can detect but also withstand poison. At a certain day, the counselor dies because of an unknown poison, and this leads to war. And now he and his sister together have to protect what is left of this counselor's family in a period with a lot of treachery and a lot of danger. This sounds amazing, to be honest, not only like the political intrigue that will probably be present, but in all honesty, I don't read a lot of fantasy books with poison, and that's so weird because it seems like a very interesting part of a plot, and I would like to know more about it. This is basically the thing that drew me into the story most of all, and if any of you know a story with poison in the fantasy setting, then please let me know, because I do want to try more of that. Now, I actually have some anticipated releases for 2021, not that much because I don't actively go and search for a book that isn't out yet. I feel like I have so many books on my shelves, and I have a lot of books on my wish list that are already out where the entire series is present to be read. And so I don't really go and search for even more books for on my TBR. But sometimes I just see a book and I find out that it isn't out yet, and then it's on my anticipated releases list. However, the next series is actually one that I actively went and looked for, because it's the new series by Brian Staveley, one of my favorite authors. He's the author of the Chronicle of the Unhung Throne trilogy, which is one of my favorite reads of 2020. So if you look at that video, you will definitely see it there. And his new trilogy, the first book is called The Empire's Rune, and that is going to come out in July 2021. It actually takes place after the events that happen in the Chronicle of the Unhung Throne trilogy. So if you want to know more about the book, I would suggest that you look that up first, because otherwise, if you look up the second trilogy, you will probably see some spoilers. But if you look at the cover of the book, then it's quite clear, if you already read the first trilogy, that we have a reoccurring character with the red hair on the cover, which is so badass and so interesting to follow that I'm already very hyped about this series. I predict that this will be my favorite book of the year, or maybe in my top 5 for sure. And if that isn't the case, then I will be highly disappointed, because my hopes for this book is very high. Now, after all of those grim dark trilogies, I really needed something that was a little bit more fluffy, or at least not as depressing as all of those grim dark ones, and that is why I went back to one of my favorite authors that I know writes very fairy tale-esque stories where nature plays a very big theme, and that is Juliette Marillier. Now, the trilogy that I chose to start in 2021 is one that might be a little bit different than what I've read by her before, because most of the time romance plays a role in her stories, and here they say that it's more a very strong friendship. That's something that I also enjoy, and that I don't really see a lot in fantasy. Most of the time it's a romance, but I think that a very good friendship is also very interesting and just fun to read about. So the series that I have chosen by her is the Blackthorn and Trim trilogy. Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy. And the first one is Dreamer's Pool. The second one is Tower of Thorns. And the third one is Den of Wolves. So yes, again, I already have a complete trilogy and I should really get to it. Now, as far as I know, in this story you follow Blackthorn, and she is a magical healer that has been imprisoned. She gets help to escape from this prison. I don't know by who, I think the Faithful, but I'm not sure. But in return, she has to swear that she will not seek vengeance to those who have harmed her in the past, and for 7 years she has to help everybody that asks for her help. She, together with former prisoner Grimm, go to the edge of a magical forest and live there, waiting for somebody to come and ask for help. If I'm not mistaken, each of the books go and talk about the two main characters, so Blackthorn and Grimm, and then there is a third party, the one that is asking for help. And in the entire book, they try to help that third party with their problem. Next up is more a traditional fantasy series, and that is Memory, Sorrow and Thorn by Ted Williams. I don't know a lot about this, other than that most people say it's a slow read, but I kind of enjoy most books that people say are slow, so that's already a positive for me. And I know that George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire is inspired by this trilogy. I love A Song of Ice and Fire, so again, that's pretty positive news for me. The only thing that I know about the plot is that we follow Simon, who is a kitchen boy, but he is definitely meant to become something bigger, because when a war breaks out, he is sent on some kind of quest. It sounds pretty tropey, it sounds like a coming-of-age story with possibly the chosen one, but again, I haven't read a lot of traditional fantasy, so I don't think that this will be overdone for me, and it's only a trilogy, so unlike some other 14-book long series, I think that I will be able to finish this one up quite quickly. The next series on the list is again a trilogy, and that's The Wounded Kingdom by R.J. Barker. Now, as most of you might know, I really love the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb, which follows Fitz, who is an assassin among other things. And in each and every one of those titles, the word assassin is present. I think that's probably the worst picked title that you could choose, because even though Fitz is an assassin, the story doesn't focus on the assassin part. The story focuses on Fitz and how sad his life is. I'm saying this because here in the Wounded Kingdom trilogy, also all of the books have assassin in the title. You have Age of Assassin, Blood of Assassins, and King of Assassins. But unlike the Farseer trilogy, I really think that these titles are perfect because when you just look at the plot, it's really assassinations that are the spinning wheel of these stories. You basically follow somebody who is training to become the best assassin of the land, but for his new quest, he doesn't need to assassinate someone, he needs to save someone. Because an assassination is being planned on the heir of the kingdom and he needs to stop it. So he needs to uncover which assassin has been given this quest and needs to stop him. So basically, assassinate another assassin. That sounds so interesting and action-packed because most of the time when you follow an assassin, you have two storylines. Either the assassin is rubbish and then there's not really a lot to it, he will die. Or you have a very good assassin. And when a very good assassin is requested to assassinate somebody, there's not really a lot of tension because yes, the assassin will win. It's not that difficult, otherwise he wouldn't have survived for that long. But here you have assassins against each other. That's going to be probably pretty epic, pretty action-packed, and I don't know if I would like that per se because I haven't read a lot of action-packed stories up until now, but the story sounds so interesting that I at least want to give it a try. And who knows, I might pick up a new favorite. And since I was just talking about Robin Hobb, I thought I might show you the next trilogy by her that I am going to pick up, which is the Tawny Man Trilogy. So the first book, the second book, no, this is the third one, The Fool's Fate, I think in English. I will put the titles down below on the video because I don't know. And this is the Golden Fool, this is the second book. So this is the third trilogy in the Realm of the Elderling series. The first trilogy was the Farseer trilogy where you follow Fitz, a royal bastard. That's been one of my favorite reads of 2020. In the second one you have more the story of life ship traders, so this doesn't follow Fitz. It is in the Realm of the Elderlings but in a different part. But then here, the Tawny Man Trilogy, you come back to Fitz. So I'm very excited to meet Fitz again and see how his life is. It's probably going to be depressing again, but I'm in for it and I love Fitz and I love crying about Fitz when his life is miserable. So I really enjoy this. I still need to round up the Life Ship Traders trilogy. I need to read the third book, but after that I'm going to binge read probably the entire series of the Tawny Man. Since in every one of the titles Fool's name is present, such as the Golden Fool, I do expect to see the character of the Fool again, which was one of my favorite characters in the Farseer trilogy, so I'm really excited about these books. So next up I have another traditional fantasy series, and that is the Riftwar Saga by Raymond E. Feist. This is the first trilogy in a bigger series called the Riftwar Cycle, so that's very parallel with the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, where you have shorter series inside a bigger story. I'm very interested to pick this one up. I think that the first book is called Magician, and you basically follow Puck. Puck is an orphan who is training with a master magician to learn more about magic, and he currently has a place at court and is in love with the princess. But he will become the chosen one, if I'm not mistaken, because if I read the synopsis correctly, evil forces are at work and they kind of create a rift between space and time. And a war is going to come between order and chaos, where I think that chaos is probably going to be the dark side, and Puck all of a sudden has to play a role in that. So it's definitely chosen one tropey, but if done right, I really do like those kinds of stories. So if I like the first trilogy, I will probably continue with the rest of the series, but for this year, if I finish the first one, I'll be happy. The next series that I'm interested in is the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, the first book being City of Brass. This series follows a con woman in 18th century Cairo who doesn't believe in magic, but then she accidentally summons a jinn warrior. This is basically all I know about the story, which isn't a lot, but I really liked the setting. It reminded me a little bit of the setting of A Song of Shattered Sand series by Bradley P. Bolio, of which I recently read the first book, even though that's an epic fantasy going on in a secondary world, and this one is of course going on in own world, Cairo in the 18th century, it still felt a little bit similar, and since I really enjoyed that setting of Bradley P. Bolio's series, I thought that I might enjoy this one as well. The next one is a little bit difficult for me, because do you sometimes have that you are really interested in a series, you even buy the complete series, and then you find out that you don't really know why you're interested because you don't know what the story is about? That's the next series, which is A Chorus of Dragons by Jen Leon. This is the first one, The Rune of Kings. Then we have the second one, The Name of All Things. And the third one, The Memory of Souls. This is supposed to be a 5-book series. I thought that it was going to be a trilogy so that I had the entire series, but no, the fourth one is coming out this year, and then the fifth one in the upcoming years, I suppose. But I do want to try to read the first 3, and then we'll see how it goes from there. I've heard kind of mixed reviews from other booktubers about this series. Some people really enjoy it, others don't like it at all. So I'm kind of interested to see where I will land. But when I just look at the premise of this book, a lot seems to be going on. We follow a bard's apprentice who steals occasionally to get by, and then he raids the wrong house and is marked by a demon. Then a little bit down you read that this bard is also apparently the lost son of an immortal prince. So it seems like a lot will be going on in this series. Sometimes I like that if it's done well, but if we meet a lot of different characters in the first couple of sections and chapters, it's a little bit daunting for me. So this one I will be a little bit on the fence about. I might love it, I might not, but I just want to give it a try this year because I have the entire series up to publication and I just should try it. The next series that I want to give a try is another trilogy of which I own not a single book yet, but hopefully that will soon change. And that is the Crossroads series by Kate Elliott. I wanted to try one of Kate Elliott's works for a long time, and basically this series has a couple of elements that I enjoyed in other fantasy series as well, so I think I will enjoy this also. In this series you have the Guardians, and these are sort of all-powerful gods that have been ruling this world for centuries, but their power is waning. We have the Reavers, who are the representatives of these guardians on Earth, and they fly these enormous eagles. But also they have been less and less powerful because we have a mysterious group of people who basically roam the world and are burning down villages to get to power themselves. And I think that in this series we follow 2 people who try to find out who these people are, who is their leader, and try to stop them from burning down the entire world. Now, what I really enjoyed here was, first of all, that there is the presence of gods. Most of the time when in fantasy books gods are mentioned and you have like these really cool, powerful gods, all of them having different powers. I don't know if that's the case in this book, but when that is present, I enjoy the series a lot. So that's already a plus. And then that you have these Reavers that fly these enormous eagles. This reminded me of the Chronicle of the Unhung Throne, because there you have Catral, which are big warbirds, but I always imagined them as being very big eagles. So that's kind of a similarity that I hope will be very cool in these books as well. The next series on the list is by another author that I wanted to try for a long time, Michelle West. She has some very long series, but she also has one duology, and that's the one that I wanted to start with, and that is the Sacred Hunt duology. The first book being Hunter's Oath, and the second book being Hunter's Death. The premise of this story sounds very interesting, again with the presence of a god, which I really enjoy, because here you follow the Hunter Lords. Now the Hunter Lords have made a pact with the Hunter god that they can basically hunt in the woods of this god together with their animal companion and provide for all of the people of which they are lords. But in return, once every year, the Hunter god can hunt a lord in these woods. And that just sounds very interesting. It's very simple, but I do expect that most of this story will take place in that wood, which is a very interesting setting. As I said before, I really like a very nature-based setting a lot. You have these gods, you have animal companions. If there is one thing that I really enjoy in a fantasy world, it's when you have these animal companions and that the man and the animal have a very special bond together. So I think that this will also be present here. Since the books are called Hunter's Oath and Hunter's Death, I do expect that we will start where the Hunter god will start hunting one of the Hunter Lords. The last series on this list is The Masquerade by Seth Dickinson. If I'm not mistaken, this is his debut novel, the first one of course, and I thought that he had really high praise for that one, so I'm very interested to pick it up. The first one is called The Traitor, Baru Cormorant, the second one is called The Monster, Baru Cormorant, and the third one is called The Tyrant, Baru Cormorant. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be a longer series, but at this point 3 books are out, and the author has said that you can read the first book as a standalone if you wish. In this political fantasy, we follow Baru, and Baru lives on an island that is being conquered by the Empire of Masks. She tries to infiltrate, being a member of the masquerade, and climb higher into the ranks until she can basically destroy this empire from within. It sounds like a very interesting heist story with a lot of politics, which I do enjoy, so I'm very interested to pick this one up as well. So those are all of the 15 series that I plan to pick up this year. Do any of those interest you as well, or have you maybe even read one of those? And if you did, do you encourage me to start them, or didn't you like them that much? Please let me know in the comments down below, so I can basically set my expectations high or low, depending on your answer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye!